So we're gonna move you. Hello, everybody. It's me. Let's sit down. Let's hang out for a little bit. That's good. I'm Casey O'Brien, and I'm out here. I just wanted to give every now and then, usually in the summertime, I give a heart-to-heart talk. I like my conscious heart-to-heart videos, where I sort of treated this like, was it Hey Jesse that had the diary? Hey Jesse. And Debbie Ryan was a bad bitch. I love Debbie Ryan. I don't think she had the diary. I'm not dog with a blog, I swear to God. Today is 10 years since I met the person that I considered the love of my life. And she has a child and a boyfriend, and I knew that. But I called her anyway. When I met her, I had just gotten out of the retreat, and I was in a foster home. And I was to make friends. I was going out and talking to people on the street like I was doing pickup artistry. So I'd go out as like a 15-year-old kid, and all the social skills I'd learned were from autistic pickup artists on the internet. So when I got out of this institution where I was locked in a box and I couldn't, like, smaller, like probably just as big as this camera can see, and on like a basically cardboard mattress in an institution in a locked room where you can't look out the windows because it would violate insurance. So I have to look outside. I had to look through a little crack. And I did that for a long time. And then I got out, and with the 15 minutes that I had in there, I would walk around and talk to people. And everyone thought I was weird, but then I got a job. I got better at what I was doing. I got funnier. I sort of refined the social skills. Girls liked me. And then one day, there were two girls walked into the Price Chopper where I was at the aisle. And girls used to come into the aisle, and they would go to my aisle just to buy a pack of gum and meet me, which is really cool. So one of those girls did, and her friend was really reluctant. I could just feel this dark, dense, depressed energy coming behind this sort of pioneer girl that wanted to go make the new experience. So they came into my aisle, and the girl behind the pioneer girl was everything I'd ever wanted. Like, I grew up and I wanted Haley Atwell, I think, Agent Carter from Captain America. And I liked Daisy Ridley in Star Wars. And she was sort of like the perfect mix of both of them. The height was perfect. She had really long hair past her knees. And she was the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my life so far. Honestly. So I liked her a lot. I did all the pickup stuff. I could tell her friend really liked me, but I didn't like her friend, but her friend was with her. So I got her friend engaged so that I could, I'd get off work in 15 minutes. So we walked up to her house, her friend's house, and I stopped a car. Back then I would just say, I thought the philosophy was just say whatever you want, because there's no such thing as weird. It's all social conditioning. So it doesn't matter what you say as long as your intentions are right. And then everyone else will move around you. So that became me accidentally not realizing that I was channeling something beyond myself. I just thought I was being brave and saying whatever I wanted. But now I look back and I'm like, the things that I said was like how John Mayer describes how God gives him songs when he plays guitar. It just like comes out of you this weird way. So I just got inspired, and I blocked traffic for a second so they could cross. And I said, stop in the name of love. And I thought that was really cringe. But now that I look back, I'm like, whoa, I didn't even realize the importance of that. So we go to her friend's house, and her friend keeps trying to get closer to me, and I like the other girl. I was 15, she was 14. And, you know, we were kids. So I put my name in her phone as Danny and her as Sally. Like, I think it's Greece. And I told her we were going to go on this amazing romantic date. I'm like, you're not going to believe it. Next week, we're going to go on this amazing date, and you're going to wear this beautiful dress, and I'm going to wear this suit, and we're going to go hit the town like we're in a 1950s sitcom. And then I didn't remember I said, like, I thought that was joking. It's called, just like setting a thing in the future as part of pickup artistry. It's just like creating that next event and then adding that incentive and attention to it that keeps them excited and cements you, so that when they go and see tons of other people in their day-to-day basis, you have more of a sort of hold on their daily life. So I didn't take it seriously that when I saw her the next week, she was in this amazing dress. Um, it was black and white, which matched the hat that I was wearing, but I had this pinstripe around my hat, and but I was in a shorts, Vans, and a Minion tie-dye hoodie. I did not expect her to dress up because she was playing the uninterested card. Like, I guess. So I was like, I didn't expect her to do that. So we walked down the street. I just kept riffing and riffing and riffing. She thought it was entertaining. We went to a swing set. I learned later that her childhood was based around this swing set and this picket fence. So she would sit on the swing set when she outside of her house, and that was like what she liked to do. What I like to do was sit in the grass by myself, because I grew up by myself. I would sit by myself in the grass and just pick at the grass. So she got on the swing set, I got on the grass, and I don't think like that. So I didn't realize that she thought that I might have been trying to look up her skirt because she was in a dress. I was just like, I like to sit down and move the rocks around. So I looked up and she was gone. She just got up and walked away. But my dad's voice in my head was like, you're responsible for her. You took her out. Her family doesn't know where she is. You don't know where she lives. I'd never been outside of a small, like literally alone in the mountains. So even though that small town, that was a city to me. I'd never gone into a small town before. I literally, up until that point, was just deep in the forest my entire life. I never went downtown, so I didn't know that kids just walked around. So I went looking for her. I was worried. I was texting her, blowing her phone up. She wouldn't answer. Finally, I walked into like the coffee shop and she was sitting there. So I sat with her. Still, she just didn't seem interested, but I just kept talking. And then she kept going out with me, and we went to my foster dad's house and we had food, and the food was spaghetti, and she had a white dress on, so she didn't like it. It was stuffed shells. But she got to see my foster parents and my foster brothers, who I'd only met for a couple weeks at that point. And we sat in my foster brother's room until she literally just got up and left. She just got up and walked out. Then she didn't message me for a long time. I felt amazing. It was the most I was free. Two, the girl was amazing, like the best looking woman I've ever seen in my life. Three, I was just free. But every time I felt like I was being authentic, she would just get up and walk out. Fast forward like a week later, I'm walking down the street and I see her with another guy. I'm walking down this big hill right where John Michael passed, and she's walking up the hill with this guy I've never seen before. I think it was the first black person I'd ever seen in my life, really, other than like a public speaker that came into my school once. Other than that, that was the first person of color I'd ever seen in my life, was walking with her up the hill when I was walking down. So that broke my heart. What's wrong? Like, it's like the Kehoes all over again. It's like my mom. It's like there's just something wrong with me, I guess. So it pushed me to work out, pick up the guitar more. Every time I got rejected, I would just throw myself into the gym until I got so big and good looking, refine my skills at telling jokes, at leading the interaction, to take people on adventures, to go do amazing things, and to make it memorable so that everyone that met me would leave their life better than they had found me. So I did that, and I got in a different relationship a week later, and then she came back, and I just didn't go back to her. And then terrible girlfriend after that. She would suck college guys' dicks, and she would come back and kiss me, pick at me, nitpick me, and then wait until I got mad because I had all this abandonment trauma. Like, everyone called me good looking. Girls would walk down the street and be like, "That's my husband." And I was like, if they only knew I was a literal feral animal hiding inside of this body. But it felt good at the same time. But she would sort of pick it. I think she felt the emotional spike when I would get scared and the abandonment issues, and I'd feel trapped, and I didn't know, I don't want to leave her. I don't want to be alone. So she would just play me like that, and then she would tell me, "By the way, you see this?" She's like, "That's cum from a guy named Sam who lives up the road." And then she would try to get me to have kids with her. She said she had friends in school. She had already graduated. She was 20 when I was 16. But that girl was really good looking. Like, in her grade, she was the best looking in her grade. There was one girl that was a little bit better looking, but her lower body she had the best lower body in the school. But she's a trailer park girl, I guess. She was just kind of crazy. And the world was much different back then. Like, Instagram was just taking off in 2016. Like, Vine, I don't think Vine was even invented yet. So nobody was making short form content. They were making videos about bodybuilding. And that was pretty much like bodybuilding, and David Dobrik dominated the YouTube page back then. So everybody was gathering in friend groups, hitting the gym, and then making fake jokes because they didn't realize that the guys they were watching were Satanists. David Dobrik is a Satanist. So that's what my high school was dealing with. There was like a couple people of color that were from like Albany and Springfield that moved to Brattleboro to get away from the city. And the kids just thought there was something wrong with them. There was like, the vibes just didn't mix right. Like, they would dress nice and they would talk completely different. And all of us were just like Vermonter hobbits. Very good look. Like, Brattleboro's got the best looking people in the state for some reason. We were just a good batch. And I don't know, it was just, the world was so much different. But eventually I left that girl. And after that, just the abandonment trauma and everything. I never got with one girl after that again. It was always, I'd get with a girl and I'd have to be with two others. Because if they left me, I would feel I would feel like I did when I was young. I'm hearing car doors slamming, so I'm assuming there are people here. Like landscapers. I'm here for another couple hours. But in between these other girls that I was dating, I'd always be going back to that original girl. And we would get, like, I was just getting better and better and better. She was laughing more. I was better at social situations. I had friend groups. I was able to invite her to things. We would hang out a lot. And it would be so much better than any other experience I've ever had in my life. Like, so much different, that it was so significant. There was just something there. And then she would leave. She would stop answering. And then she'd post a picture of herself half naked on Instagram, and there would be hundreds and hundreds of likes on her stuff. And she would post, she had, like, back then, hot girls had an Insta, they had a Finsta, they had a Finsta where they would post not safe for work stuff, like them in bras and everything. And then they had a Visco, and then they had the Snapchat. So it was like I would see different guys following the different stuff, liking the different stuff, and then I would see suddenly that guy move to this next level, and then they move to the one where they can see her nudes basically, and then moved on to the one I don't even have access to, and that would keep going, different waves of guys while she's talking to me, and I think it's special, and she acts like it's special, but then there's this all this other stuff going on, like she was living in 5 or 6 different romance novels at once. But I kept trying it. It just hurt. It would really hurt. I remember I would just sit there and feel like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not good enough? And I would be okay. I'm not. I must not be good enough because of like the. I can't bench this certain amount. My legs aren't bigger. I need bigger arms so that my V taper shows. And then I need to make sure that my teeth are good. And I need to make sure that like I'm always tan. And then I need to do better. I need to be doing better with this social stuff. So I need more people to say nice things about me. So I would go and keep making jokes, keep getting people engaged. I built my own friend groups. I did literally everything to raise my social status because that's what YouTube taught me was the only way to get that high status girl to stop talking to all these other guys and appreciate me for who I am is if I just kept pushing. So I kept pushing, six-pack bodybuilder, benching multiple plates, tons of friends, active social life, active sex life, and then I would just come back in, meet her again, take it as far as I could, and then she loved it, and then she would just be gone. And then another picture of her hearting somebody's comment that, or like somebody messaged her something sweet, and she double tapped to put a little heart emoji next to it, and she'd post it for everyone to see. And then and then I'm like, how many other people are just sitting here staring at their phone watching this because they know they'll never find anybody that looks remote or that is anywhere like this girl, so they're putting up with all of that. And I'm like, but I'm not a simp. So I was like, if she doesn't like me now, it's not who I am, it's how I came across. So I'm just gonna keep, and I know if I spend any attention on this, it's just a waste of my time, and it doesn't provide any value for her. I'm suddenly now another simp. So I just left, and I would just keep doing my own thing. And as soon as I did my own thing, she would come right back. And that went on for years through high school. And then after, I remember at my graduation, I had another girlfriend that was amazing for me, everything I'd ever want. And now that I'm older, I'm like, that was everything I ever needed. Perfect for me. And I was her first time and her first love. But at that point, it was just if I'm not seeing multiple girls, and this girl does that leaving me, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm already carrying so much stress that I'm on this antidepressants that keep me from feeling at all. So I know that I'm just like this ticking time bomb waiting to blow up. I would stress out and start kicking walls and just like freaking out because I couldn't take it. But I knew that I had to keep building this because I had places I wanted to be. But I remember on my graduation, she showed up with my friend, and she was at the very edge of the field, and she was crying because she realized she had lost me, and she saw me standing there, and I felt like this giant shining light for me, and I was so much bigger and better than when she had first saw me, and she realized seeing me next to the girl that she lost me. So she was like having a panic attack, freaking out, and they left. And I didn't see her until November that year when after I went to college. So I went all the way through there. Went through that summer smoking weed, not doing well with the SSRIs, cheating on that other girl that I was with tons of other girls. And then my car broke down in Maine. I started going to parties and meeting famous people. Like a girl that I worked with was in the network. I mean, I think I'm pretty functioning today. I think I'm doing pretty good, considering I'm not like screaming about the crows, which is a real thing. Um, that we are in some type of matrix with a higher intelligence, but I think this is probably pretty real of me. So I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good with this. I appreciate you asking. I just I tell stories, and then when I'm like 60, I can look back. Yeah, when I'm 60, I'll be able to look back and see how far I came, and there will be probably tons of little instances where I'm speaking in these videos where I like say something that doesn't make sense. Oh shit! Look, that was a red-tailed hawk, and it was carrying an entire nest. Not like stuff to collect the nest. That was an entire nest it picked up and took with it. As I'm talking, what was that? I was saying that we'll be able to see things like that, and it won't make sense now, but in like maybe a year from now or 2 years, I'll like randomly click a video, and I'll see how there was something that was just right there from something that like a god that can see outside of time. That's just like giving me hints. I see a lot of that in my life, especially when I devote my life to creating all day. The things that come out when I'm writing or when I'm singing, like don't make sense. It's like a puzzle piece that doesn't make sense. And then later I figure out that that was exactly what needs to go here, along with two other things from different songs. That it was like I randomly jotting notes down of things that don't make sense, and then I put it together, and the way the rhyme scheme, the pattern of it, the thing I was talking about, it was like I caught a stray, and it all fits together. So the point was, I did go to college. I went to Maine, and a CEO of a $1 million company took me in, and he paid for my car to get fixed, and he helped me get off weed, and I got to college. The YouTuber that I said that I watched when I was 14, his nephew was my roommate, and we did mushrooms, and I saw things like I saw aliens and or angels, and they told me things about the universe and about the trajectory of my life if I stayed in the industry and what was going to happen to the youth of the world, and a bunch of other things I can't remember, because usually when you have these wake up moments, they do tell you things, but it almost like floats out of your mind and you can't get it back. Usually people that do that have a certain music thing, or they chew gum like mint. That's why I have menthol cigarettes. Cool transition. And so I got up and left the next day. What he told me is that I was driving 90 miles an hour down the highway, and I was speaking in tongues. And then I just thought I was driving. So my consciousness was looking straight ahead and driving completely silently. What he saw is that my head was turned and my eyes were looking this way, and I was talking to him, and the things that I was saying to him were like extremely personal. He said it was demonic. He said it was terrifying, and he said it made him quit. I said the same thing, that was like something was telling me to quit and not go to the next day, not complete the graduation of that industry level school and move on to working with famous people. It was saying go home. Something also told him go home. So we both didn't say anything to each other, got up the next day, and we left at the exact same time. And then when I got home, that girl was waiting for me. As soon as I got back, she messaged me and wanted to see me, which had never happened before ever. In the years that I'd known her, she had never wanted to see me. I had to initiate. But now she's coming into my life. So with the rest of my money, I took her across New England, and we drove around 16 hours a day. She fell asleep in my car. We went to Boston. I met more famous people. Uh, and it was just the best time of my life. I was free. I was free, person that I loved, and I'd finally gotten her. And then she just left. Like every time I see her, it's better and better and better, and then she just leaves for somebody else. And I feel drained. I feel empty. I feel worthless. And I just get back up, go to the gym, keep going. So I got a job. I went back and did the test. I drove all the way back right after that, and I got my certificate in audio engineering. And then I went back, got a job as a pizza delivery guy, tried to make music, but my friends were all drug addicts now, and I was living with them, and they were not handling the drugs well, and I was on medication that wasn't mixing well with the weed, and I only smoked weed. I stopped smoking weed, and I'd be in the room, so the serotonin would build up until I'd pop, and then I'd be up for days. And then in one day, that girl that I was treating poorly left me. My friends kicked me out because I wouldn't bring the I wouldn't they lived a half hour away, but their friend's house that we all stayed at. So we stayed at one friend's house, and then we had another friend that we all lived with, so we were between houses all the time. The guy whose dad had that apartment half hour away wouldn't let me go into the house if he wasn't there for some reason. But my medication was in there and I needed it. My car had broken down, so, and I was like, I'm just on the verge of popping. So I blew up because I hate petty, pissy pussies that don't understand how hard I fight and how much I go through just to function. So for him to act like such a little kid when he wasn't a great friend to me either, I blew up on him. He's like 6'3", he was huge. I whooped him. And then after I whooped him, I left, and then I blew up again. I ran back up, and I got him a second time. Just like picked up this 210-pound guy and just whipped him on the floor, beat the fuck out of him. So safe to say, I lost my friends, and then I lost my car and my girlfriend and all the girls that I wanted, and I felt like my legacy because I couldn't make the music I wanted to make. So I drove my car 90 miles an hour into a pole. It wrapped around the pole. I hit the steering wheel. The airbag didn't go off. And it felt like I left that universe and I moved into this one. It didn't feel like I died. It felt like I transitioned from one, like in Rick and Morty when they die and then the other one steps in. It felt like I died and moved into another world immediately where everything was completely different. Like I was just like a fish out of water from my own universe. And a lot of people say that in 29 to the birds. A lot of people say that in 2019, a lot of people split from their original timeline and they moved into some like purgatory thing to sort the Great Awakening. I didn't know about that until 2021, but in 2019 that happened. So I was hospitalized for a month. They took my abandonment issues and my PTSD, causing me to feel like I need to persevere like I have been doing. That like need to just get up and do as much as possible so that I can combat this, what would happen if I stagnated. They took that as manic. They assumed I was bipolar because I would get these spurts of this need to fight for freedom. It wasn't mania. It was sort of like a rampage to get back on the right time so I could keep the trajectory of my life going towards my goals. So I would work out every day, and that would push me with the freedom I learned from pickup artistry that I like to be brave and ride that high of feeling free. And they took that as mania, but it wasn't. It was always just me being worried. It was more fear-based than a hormonal disorder. What I needed was rest, and I needed to get out of my environment because I can't be trapped. Any bipolar tendencies come from me being trapped in a place where I need a big open space, and then it all pretty much goes away. But after I got out of the retreat, she called me. Like the minute I got out, somehow she called me. So I dated her, and I lived with her. Before that, to backtrack, in November, one time there was a raccoon that got hit by a car in front of us right outside my old house. I was showing her where I used to live before I was in custody, and then right where I used to be, there was a dead raccoon. And then I wanted to run it over because I was like, it's dying. I was like, I'm a man, I should take this rock and put it out of its misery. And she's like, no, what the fuck? So we picked it up, and I could feel this huge light coming from both of us, like our love together jolted it, and it just came back to life. And then it swam across the river, and then it sat across the river and just stared at us, like looked us both in the eyes, happy, grateful. And then when we went to leave, then it left. So when I saw her that next time when she called me, she had gotten this little raccoon squishmallow or something. So we fell asleep with both of our heads on the squishmallow. And then she got drunk, and she cried. And the things that I used to cry about, like I would break down crying by myself sometimes when I would break, and the things that I would say, she broke down and said the exact same things that I said. And I felt it was just, I felt like this giant shining light, and it felt like after she drank, there was just some darkness around her that was extremely irritated by my presence since that moment. Before that, it was heaven, and then she got drunk with me one night, and then after that, it was just like I was like a pest in her life. She didn't like me suddenly. She would get just the way when I talk about when I see people that are possessed by their bad habits, when I see like addicts or heroin addicts or people that do coke, it's not, it just felt like that spirit had gotten on her, and nothing I did worked. Like I drove her places, went on a vacation, things just didn't work out, and then she was always trying to get away, but I think she felt obligated to stay because I had just tried to kill myself. So one night she played Disconnect by Black, and she took a shower and she got her hair all nice and dressed nicer than I'd ever seen her. And then she left me in her house. And then an angel came down, told me to take a shot. I took a shot, and then it told me basically, it showed me that she's at the guy's house. She's going into the guy's house. She's taking her hair down. She's going to go sleep with him. So I panicked and I worked out. I got her pull-up bar or her brother's pull-up bar or something, and I just worked out for an hour, and I could feel the entire thing. I felt the buildup of the sex, and when it ended, I felt her have a panic attack. I knew what was happening, and she came back, and the angel was just like, let her lie to you. Watch her lie. So she lied, and then I broke down crying. I called my mom. I wanted to go to the retreat again because I was worried I was going to kill myself. And she blocked the door and wouldn't let me leave. And she's like, no, I'm sorry. Like, do you realize I care now? It was like, so we're both crying now. And then I left. And then she wanted me to come back. And then like a month later, I looked through, the thing came down again and said, look through her phone. I looked through her phone, and then just like a week ago, at the exact time, literally the exact time I felt in my mind that it had been done, the deed was done, there was a picture of him with his back scratched up at the edge of his bed, and she was laying in his bed. So I didn't tell her for a couple months, and I let it eat at me. Then she would Basically, I was surviving solely on my self-confidence from the amount of achievement I kept getting every day. So I knew if I worked out and I did this and I stacked up these small wins, I was always building myself back up and better and better and better and having more hope for the future and staying this perseverant light that allowed me to have these skills and be free and be all the qualities everyone loved about me. But sitting in the room with her just destroyed me over and over and over again. With like, I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. She's lying. I have to live in that dramatic irony and that like constant fighting against a brick wall. And it was draining me, like literally just destroying me over and over. I don't think I had a brain injury. I don't think I had anything wrong with me. I think that I just completely lost it in the paranoia and just the getting stuck in the rumination that I used to ruminate about how am I going to escape DCF and how am I going to be good enough for these people to like me. It became that loop of like, how do I figure out what do I do here? I don't know if I want her gone. I don't want to break up with her because then I'll never find somebody like her ever again. I worked so hard to get to this point. I've been through so much. I don't know. Should I forgive her? It was like I couldn't even have sex with her anymore. And then at some point, I snapped. I broke. And I just didn't recover. It was like the stress built me up until I popped, literally. And I just couldn't function. I completely gave up. I couldn't speak. I couldn't form sentences. It was like my inner soul had just depleted and died. And there was just nothing here anymore. So I didn't know how to do anything. I became like a vegetable. Just like basically just like sitting and nothing. Because I can't invest or care about her. I care so deeply about people. My relationships are so vivid that it just died. And then I became like a sick dog or something. Then she started going to tons of guys' houses. She would bring me to people's houses and she would have me sit in the car and she would put her hair down and she would go into the guy's house for a half hour, come back, not say anything about what just happened, and we would leave. Her phone was always full of notifications. Her Snapchat streaks, she would be in high school. She would send me a picture of a guy she told me she made out with once, that they're hanging out in school. And I tried to work a job. It didn't work. I couldn't figure out what to do or how to function. That losing of myself brought me to this like very high spiritual place. Here's a butterfly coming. When I'm talking about the high vibrational spiritual stuff, the butterfly's here. Then the dragonfly. And when I finally told her about it, to make up for it, she got me a dog, and she told me that she loved me and wanted to stay. So I moved into my friend's house and just nothing worked. I couldn't get up in the morning. I lost all my motivation was to be good enough for this girl of my dreams. And then the girl of my dreams became this disgusting nothing that I'm trying so hard to love and I just can't because I have standards. And I was young and in the worst place that I've ever been in my life. So she would come home from work and we would still date and it was great and she did love me. It wasn't like she didn't hate me. She suddenly like something clicked and she really like was amazing. But I was just gone. Like we would watch TV and we would fall on the floor laughing and everything would be great. But then when it came, like if I had to get up and walk the dog or just do anything other than just lay there, I just couldn't. And it was so hard to be next to somebody who's texting 20 people. Like that's the reality of these high level 304s maybe, is that they just have this well of attention that they use like a constant dopamine spike, and they live in this like delusion with how they manage their relationships. Eventually I broke again and I hung myself, but she stayed. I stayed with her. I kept going in there until I broke again, and I took all the pills in the cabinet because I just couldn't get myself back, my self-esteem, my self-confidence, who I knew I was. I just couldn't be that and also myself to be in the situation. So that cognitive dissonance, that incongruence would not let me be myself. When really what I needed to do was cut her off, take the loss, get in the gym, get back to talking to people, grow, get back up there, and keep doing what I had originally done when she would do stuff like this. Just get better until she realized what she lost and then come back. But instead I stayed because I didn't want to be alone. And eventually I felt like I didn't deserve, like if I left her, there would be no chance for me. Because high school was over. I didn't get my dreams done. All my friends had been sort of draining on me, where I felt really trapped in everything, where I just felt there was no way out. So I just stuck it through and was just like, whatever. So I stayed in public housing. I worked out every day. I would still feel this need to do something great and not waste my potential in life. So I did what I could. I learned spirituality. I learned all this stuff. Thank you, man. Yeah. This was all of that happened in 2019 through 2020. We're at 2020 now. All of 2019 was just me being the sick dog in the car. 2020 rolled around and COVID happened. Then I felt this need to save everybody. So I started inviting tons of people to my house. People would come over a lot. I got involved with the community. I still just was a hollow shell of who I was. And I hated going around everybody see me that way. And then eventually I gave up, and I would just walk around with messy hair, barefoot, walking around during COVID with the butterflies and just talking to God, trying to figure out the universe. Because I was at the same time I was having these really spiritual experiences. Like she got me a cat because we got rid of the dog because I couldn't take care of it. And I think there was something with my lease. I couldn't have the dog. So that she got me a cat instead, and the cat and I would have sleep paralysis every night, where me and the cat both can't move, and there are demons like dark figures, these dark shadows with red eyes that would come in through the window, and they would attach to my arms, and I would get so cold, and I couldn't move, and my cat couldn't move, so I would have to like set myself on fire inside, basically, fight my way out, do push-ups, make music, do all this stuff, and then the cat learned with me. So I like raised the cat as a person. I raised him like my son because we were like connect. It was like they talk about your familiar and your spirit animal. Like I had a cat that understood me, and we went through it together. So that got to the point where the cat would wake up and would defend me against these things, and that would allow me to move. And the cat became like a sentinel, like a guardian. And then somebody brought me this like Egyptian statue, and the cat would lay in front of the Egyptian statue, and then everything would go away. Like the cat learned the super meditation to like stop it and heal me, and then I could do my stuff every day. I studied astrology, quantum mechanics, dieting, fasting, sunlight, probiotics, ketosis, autophagy, neurogenesis, apoptosis, vitamin D. I thought that the problem was low testosterone. Now I know it was low self-esteem. Changed my diet around, lost a bunch of weight, and then I would just spiral because it was just the friendships that I had, the girlfriend I was with. Now I was in that apartment building with all these mentally ill people, like horrible people, pedophiles were in there, and it was just a bad place. So I didn't have anyone in my corner really, no one that understood or was able to be what I needed at the time. But I still fought every day. I was still fighting for something. And then I sent it across the country to meet my childhood heroes because they were having events. I was somebody that thought, like one time, the RZA, somebody gave me the book, The Tao of Wu by the RZA, and he starts off calling himself the Abbot, and I'm in the Abbot block, and the RZA was the guy that formed the Wu-Tang Clan, and I formed this rap group of people that were coming in and making music with me. So the RZA suddenly popped up on my page and said that he's going to be in New York City doing this boot camp for people, and I didn't have the money to get in, and I didn't have anything to give him, but I knew that I had the mindset and the drive and the vision and the skill when I'm out of this environment, because if I persevere and I get out of it. So I tried to have John Michael cover for me because I was dishwashing, and I was going to have the girl drive me to New York City. I found somebody's Instagram that was there. They posted the motel or the hotel they were staying at. So I was like, if I go there and I get there and I get into the room with him and I tell him, look what I did, look at the drive, and then I just, put me in front of the studio and watch what I can make. But it didn't work out. So I gave up. Then I went across the country to meet the YouTubers that I watched, other events like that. And those were really cool, terrifying experiences, sort of spiritual initiations where I broke free and I found something that people don't get to, like a level of functioning and a level of spirituality that put me on par. Like I was in the same level as these high-ranking spiritual YouTubers that have these like secrets of the universe. It was like the things that they were coming out with and talking about, I had already figured out myself alone in public housing, locked in that room, paranoid and trying to figure out the secrets of the universe. I had figured out all of the stuff people and getting like living in mansions because of it. So I knew that I was there. I just needed the opportunity. But I didn't want to leave her behind, and I didn't know where to go, and I didn't have the hope. I had the hope, but I didn't have the ability to get up and do it. I would fall into these like cycles, not bipolar cycles, but just where I would just give up. I would go and then I'd burn out and I'd give up. I'd go in and burn out and give up. Now I know that's because my Bazi astrology, my Chinese astrology, says that I can't function in the metal years. COVID 2020, the 2019 to 2020, early 2022, the worst time of my entire life is right when all of the astrology from Western, sidereal, Bazi, Vietnamese, numerology, Masonic, Pythagorean numerology, they all said that that time would be the worst part of my life. And exactly what happened is exactly what happened. The metal constricted my fire, and I couldn't burn long enough to make anything happen, so I would be literally trapped. And that would teach me discipline, that perseverance that I had to do, that constant churning of pushing forward through something that would be this overwhelming trap, to constantly have to break out of that in that violent paranoia and the learning about, that was my first time I learned about relationships and empathy and these games in spirituality. Because before that I was just alone fighting against the world to get out of these situations and to be good enough for people to like me. At that point people liked me, but then I was fallen, so nobody, all the things they liked me for were gone. And then it was just betrayal after betrayal after betrayal of realizing the people around me were only around me because of those qualities, which made me, you can see how that was a good learning experience for me to recognize what true friendship is and to recognize my sense of honor, and where I really truly discovered how far that I'll go for somebody that I don't even know, just because I want their life to be better than my own. That's where the 33 Life Path activation for that self-sacrifice for humanity, with the Sagittarian 8th house stellium in the underworld. 8th house is the underworld, but exalted with the Aquarius moon, literally disassociated, outside, exalted with the 10th house, authority. Feeling like I'm this king responsible for everybody, trapped in this darkness and persevering to push my way out. And then later I found out that's literally what Casey Francis O'Brien means. So I've had ChatGPT and I work extensively to put together all the different intricacies that make up this tree of life. That literally, when I figured that out, then I watched the show Loki, where Casey and Ob help Loki, which is the Viking version of the Irish god of fire, or the Irish god of the wild. No, sorry. Loki is the fire and air element of the Irish god of the wild, and I'm a Sagittarius Aquarius, which is fire and air. That's why that's significant. And then Casey and Ob help Loki become the tree of life, the acacia, which is what Casey means in the show Loki on Disney Plus. Stuff like that, those over and over activations every year, it slowly built up to that realization. But I was just learning these things in this horrible suffering. And the girl that I loved, I've come a long way. Thank you. I wish you guys could have seen me. I'm definitely much stronger than I was when I was 17. When I was 17, I think math would come to me a lot easier. The things I created would be a lot more commercial. There would be a lot more things that I could do. But anytime it came to violence, I would just cave and I would freak out because I was so electrified and I didn't have any grounding in my body that it would look like I would just like tweak when people would try to fight me. Now it's like I've taken on people twice my size, and I've survived winters, and I've gone up against police, and I've done a lot of stuff that surviving out in the dirt. A bug landed in my hair. It is what it is. So I'm proud of who I am, but I always say I wish you could have seen me before. Really quick, that John Michael that I kept talking about, I met him in 2019, after I had fallen from grace. And I watched him, who was in my position, a Sagittarius with the great last name. He was McManus. I was O'Brien. Magnus, that McManus stems from, is Brian Boru's grandson. So it's the same family tree. And we were competing for this girl, Ray, because we both wanted to make music with her. And he started getting into drugs. And the first time I met him, I warned him not to do drugs. And I sat with him and told him what was going to happen. And he didn't care because he saw weed the same way I saw it, as it sheds everything away. And you can live in the song. And you can perfect the song living outside of space and time to make the most perfect thing, which completely disassociates you and destroys your entire ability to function in the world at first. And I was telling him, like, I did that and it didn't work. What you need to do is just keep churning out the music and slowly build up to that spirituality through me. I will teach you. I will go through it for you and tell you the things you're trying to get to. But he flew too close to the sun and he burnt out. And then he became the wandering let down. But he wrote this song about then. But I'm trapped. And he wrote this song called Full Circle. It's like, living in the past gonna get you nowhere. Just keep moving on. Everything comes full circle. You're gonna get what you deserve real soon. All the things that I said I would do came true. It's all thanks to the universe. He got in a fight with me because I was stuck in that loop. And he wrote that about me. And now when I go to Brattleboro, they all have that lyric. His closest friends, people that don't like me, they have the song that he wrote about me, for me, tattooed on their arm. Meet a neuroscientist that taught me how to save people from what I went through. I met people with over 5 million subscribers. And then I burnt out and came home. I wanted to go to LA, but I couldn't move. I was in sleep paralysis in the middle of a public space where there are gays. I had just seen an old by two 15-year-old kids, and they robbed her. And then I can't move, and I'm stuck, and I have this overwhelming anxiety to go to LA, go to LA, go to LA. But I panicked, and I got a bus ticket home. So then I sent it, and I went to West Virginia, and I basically got kidnapped. But I live with a family that was very nice. She's probably watching. And that same fighting, feeling trapped, persevering to try to save everybody, only to be betrayed by the people closest to me. It was just the recurring cycle of what I needed to learn about relationships and boundaries. But it was that a guy took me and didn't take me where I was supposed to go, and instead took me somewhere else and had me introduced to his church. And then I went to his church, and he revealed that he was a pastor. And then he screamed about how he's hungry for souls. And then he would tell me over and over again that I'm gay. And I'm like, I'm not gay at all. But he kept going, no, you're gay, you're gay, you're gay. And then he would hit on me. And then at the very end, when I felt like, oh my God, I had this realization, he was churning out my masculinity by trying to gaslight me in a spiritual ritual, because he had brought me somewhere else and they had done a voodoo ritual on me. And I learned about voodoo because they were trying to steal my life force energy and give it to their brother who was a rapper. And he wore the same chains that the rappers wear. There was a literal ritual on me. And then I realized that's what he was doing. He was trying to trap me to steal what I loved most about myself, which was this perseverance to get girls. All I loved was pickup artistry and taking girls on adventures and having great sex and being this memorable reference experience for the rest of them, so that there would be nobody better than me. And I would wake them up to God and my philosophy and take them on adventures where I would steal them, sort of, not like the way he stole me, but maybe like karma. But just take girls on this adventure where they would revere it for the rest of their life. They would revere it and treat it like sacred. So, but I fought through it, and I made good friendships, I think. They all had the same names, like Brian. I met like 3 Brians on the bus that would sit next to me, and then when I got off the bus, a Frank took me to meet 2 Brians. And then when I got back, there was 2 Brians at my house. And then everywhere I go now, like a Brian bus driver took me here. I can't escape Brian, like my ancestor Brian Boru, who died on the battlefield of Clontarf after fighting his entire life to save Ireland from the Vikings, and he did. And he died at 73, which is his zodiac cycle, 60 years after he was originally homeless. So in his Bazi, the 60-year cycle, when his family was murdered by Vikings and he became homeless for his entire life, he built a kingdom and he built his house and he built his wealth and he became a king. But he started as 14 as homeless, 13 to 14. And I became homeless at 13 to 14, fighting to reclaim my lost kingdom because nobody liked me and rumors spread and everyone had this opinion of me. And then the bad energy and the bad people and the hood came in. Not that the hood's bad, I like the hood, but I'm talking about the bad parts that the hood doesn't even like about the hood, that they try to push God to save them, to stop them from being in the streets. The culture, that bad disease in the culture. I'm not saying that I don't feel like they're realer and I hate white America. I'm saying that there was if you look back at the culture back then, there was this invasive stuff that they felt the world needed to heal back then. Because that goes back to the CIA creating crack and creating rappers to promote violence and stuff like that, to stop them from realizing they were indigenous and taking their power back from these Masons in order to shine. It's the story of the Irish, where the English and the Vikings came in and enslaved them so that they couldn't create, and they took away all the food that gave them this euphoric feeling and replaced it with potatoes so that they were cut off from that feeling. It's just that reoccurring cycle. But then to have my name be O'Brien and I'm indigenous and all this stuff and African, it's all tied together. Look, somebody gave me this this bag that's my house colors, and then it's got the Irish flag or the Irish colors, and it's got the red and gold, like the O'Brien house. And then I just walked down the street a month ago, and I found these 2 lion clothes hangers, and I was really trying to get the mold off of my clothes, and I couldn't find a way to hang it up in my place. And then I just walked down the street. Sometimes I need a bike, and then I walk down the street, and then a bike with the same colors as my house. Stuff like that, where it's like, I don't know if you're real at all. And that sucks when you're alone. And it sucks when you have people that think that that type of talk is crazy. So I came back, and by then the girl that I loved would show up at my apartment, stay with me for a couple days, and then she just, at the very end, after we'd have sex and I felt drained, she would show me a picture of her with another guy, just casually, like, look at this picture. And there's a guy with his arm around her lower back at a waterfall somewhere, kind of showing off, like, look, I'm living my life. I'm not trapped in this apartment with you. You're stuck in this apartment. And I'm going to do the thing I always do, which is build you up, take it, and then leave you. So you have to be like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And have to assess how I fucked up. Then I left her. I went to Miami and I left her. When I went to Miami, I left her. I officially left her that summer after I went to West Virginia. And she immediately got with some other guy. That guy turned out to be insane. And he was she cheated on him with me the same way she cheated on me with the other guy before. But instead of like losing it and feeling so defeated, he went nuts. He like lost it completely. He would sit outside my apartment. He would message me at 3 a.m. He would follow me around town. He would follow me through grocery stores. He would tweak out and scream at himself in the parking lot. And I wasn't even there. I was in West Virginia. I didn't know that he was outside my apartment looking in my window, just staring in my window, looking for movement at 3 a.m. Is he in there? And they would catch him for hours standing there. So he had lost it. But I came back. I was with John Michael making music. The universe told me to go to a restaurant that we used to work at. I go in there. 3 people come up to me and say, "Are you still dating Chloe?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know. She comes over sometimes. I haven't seen her in a while. We don't really talk." Like, well, she's with this guy, and they're in public in the center of town, and he's just blowing up on her, putting his hands on her, really just going at her, screaming at her. And another person chimed in, another ex of mine that worked there. She said, yeah, he's best friends with my boyfriend, and he's been homeless living in our house for like a month now, and he doesn't pay any bills, and we're trying to get him to leave, and he won't. He just stays playing video games all day, and he blows up on us. So I'm like, fuck it. At this point, I've been through so much. I'm like, I can't wait. So I went there. I opened the door. He opens the door. I'm like, did you put your hands on Chloe? He's like, no. And I'm like, why are people telling me that you're around town beating her up in public? He's like, you want me to call her? I said, okay. She pulls up, but she won't roll the window down or open the door. I go to open her side door because she wouldn't roll the window down. I assumed that I wanted to get in the car and get away from him because I felt like he was like this overburdening kind of I felt it would be better if I went with her somewhere so she could tell me what was really happening. But she wouldn't unlock the door. He came at me, his hand was shaking next to his pocket. He runs at me to get in the way of the door. I pin him by the neck to the car, and I make sure he doesn't have a knife, and then I let go and I leave. And I tell her, like, stop lying to this guy. Whatever he's mad about obviously has nothing to do with me, but he's taking it out on me. And I left, and then I drove away, and that was the last time I've seen her physically. And then everyone knows the story now, but I regressed into just living alone in the apartment, and I didn't talk to anybody, and I just made music and worked on my songs because I'm like, that's the only way anything's going to happen in my life is if I perfect these songs. I'm glad I had John Michael because he kept me in competition with him to keep pushing forward. Girls liked me. I didn't sleep with any of them. I really should have, but I was still holding off for when I'm back to where I was before. Then I'm going to start going out. When I'm good enough, I'm going to start. And then he blew up on me one more time. He messaged me at 3 a.m. He showed up at my apartment and he screamed at me about things that weren't true. He said that I raped her. I didn't rape her at all. We barely had sex because I felt disgusted by her, to be honest. It was like, if people lie to me, I can never get over it until they acknowledge the lie and tell me, confess. Once they confess their sins, I forgive them instantly. But if they don't say it and it just sits there festering and they don't atone, it's really convenient I'm outside of church. But maybe that's the 33 life path in me. I think were you typing that out when I moved to Jesus? When I started talking about that higher dimension of living where these people I can't deal with betrayal or lies. Like I did have one, Nate might be watching. I had a good friend that spent a lot of money trying to hang out with me, and he did things like carry a chair across town to put a chair in my empty apartment. And he helped me with Dogecoin, and we looked up astrology together. And he was just like, so I didn't have anybody else really. But then he would just casually sneak in, like, oh, by the way, I like went to your ex-girlfriend's house in secret while you were dating. He would just like little sneaky things like that. He would just like let slip. He was like a little snake. And I was like, it just built up over time. Over time, I'm like, how does he not recognize the lack of loyalty and the confession of dishonesty with the sneaky undertone? Like he doesn't care. How does he not realize? How would he feel if I did that to him? And then at some point he tried to hit on my girlfriend in front of me and got her Snapchat and tried to meet up with her that night. And he doesn't see anything wrong with it. So I'm like, that's just not, I literally can't have that in my field, or I will just regress and churn out trying to bring that to perfection. I will go to war to try to find the perfect thing to say that will destroy that entire belief system, which is exactly what my astrology says. It's all I am, pretty much, is this traveling divine grace that sits in the underworld in the darkness and has to fight to redesign entire systems. And I shed away everything, and then the ding fire means that my fire reflects, and everyone is drawn in by their own problems, and they have to battle themselves through me. But with my Taurus rising, this calm nature that I have, I withstand the storm. That's why I have these disgusting cop creeps, cunts and crows, always after me, because I withstand the storm, and this perseverance skill set, I go back at him, I go back at him, I go back at him. And then the qualified immunity would always get me, or being trapped with a pedophile and it's freezing cold outside and I have to find my way out, which would really damage me for a long time. But for the most part, it was like every day of my life was that I would be in a public place. There would be hundreds and hundreds of people in like tourist areas that would show up, and with my empathy in the Matrix, with the AI, they would hit me and we would go to war, and I would fight, and I would learn skills about how to deal with this war in spirit. And then just everywhere that I went, and I would pick up and go to different towns, and I would meet people that there would be no way for anybody else to be in that position that I was in to help them. Sort of like the lost sheep. I'm not saying I'm the second coming of Christ, but I'm saying that the role that I fill, astrologically, numerologically, my name, my life, the trajectory my life has gone, and all of the instances I've been through in my entire life reflect a pattern that is evident in what Jesus did in the Bible. I don't know if I'm the second coming, or if there's an oversoul that's managing me and all the souls in my story, where I keep seeing these same recurring names and going through this cycle. I don't know what it is exactly, but I know that I would do this. I would go out and I would meet people, and I would have to save them. And I'd realize that there was no way that anybody else, other than people in my specific position, and the insight that I had to offer was what people needed. I would meet these addict, down and out artists that were famous, like MGK, and I would sit with them for 5 minutes. And then after that 5 minutes, I would light them up the way that I light everybody up. And then they would go on and their whole thing changed. MGK met me in a McDonald's, and then he quit drinking blood. He became a better father, and he released his best stuff, the Killer Cam freestyle, the Renegade freestyle. That's before. Think about MGK before those 2023 freestyles, and think about what he's done after with his covers and the Instagram videos where he's rapping and the Stand By Me stuff. Or what's it? The not Stand By Me, but the Zach Bryan cover. You're the sun to me. You're the sun to me. That all came directly, literally, like days after I met him, and that's true for C.416, Real Ricky, North Ave Jax, Dre, YBC, like John Michael, kids from my hometown. The people that would come near me that I would just share myself with, no Diddy, would go on to make their best art after I shown them this light through a reference. And then when I would give up on them and I would pull back, their artistry would die. When I would start doing the self-care and self-love and not try to be this ancient tree that's embedded in everybody and growing into all these different gardens and relationships. When I would go back into myself, all of their art would deteriorate. When I started focusing on myself, everybody disintegrated and they fell away. Distortion destroyed their sense of harmony and they became dark, disgusting pieces of shit. Their true colors shone. And I go to talk to them and it's just darkness. And then I would try to talk to this girl, and the spiritual war was taking a toll on me. I was losing myself really bad. Just the violence and the prejudice and the hunger and the not showering and just the losing touch, losing myself. The same fight with this girl became a fight against police that would abuse me in dangerous environments where I'm not safe, and I would just disintegrate. And I decided that if people on Facebook were going to judge me and talk shit about me and spread rumors, like there were so many people, I would be fighting every day, making the best music I've ever made in my life, healthy, happy, the best times of my life. Everybody would go around and start making up things. I would go through the rumors, I'd survive the gossip. They would try to crucify me, it wouldn't work. Those people they'd lose their mind. They would come at me violently. They would attack me. They would stalk me. They would sit outside my house. My family started doing it. My mom would start doing it. My dad would go crazy. My family couldn't look me in the eyes without some type of hatred, attacking me with hatred, like malice, trying to destroy my self-esteem. Because I felt like the mind flayer from Stranger Things or some demonic presence had gotten them. I had achieved this, I had gone through so much that I found perfection. And inside was perfect. My outside was persecuted so heavily. I decided, fuck it. And I would schizo rant on my Facebook. I gave them what they wanted. I destroyed my reputation because they never knew me anyway, and they never cared. They didn't deserve to know me at that point, so I gave them what they wanted. I was just a crazy guy on the internet. I would just crazy my way through life. And then I figured as we go through these conversations, certain people would pick up that there's something going on in between this crazy ranting. There's something there. And then I would show them God. I would show them how I could manifest cars in a certain pattern, in a certain arrangement over and over and over again. I would show them the patterns and the numbers, the butterflies, the birds that would come up and sit with me, the animals that won't leave me alone. When one animal leaves, another animal and a spiritual, hear him? When one animal spiritual teacher leaves, another animal spiritual teacher shows up, and I'm always never alone. No matter where I am or what I'm doing, a robin is coming in right now and hanging out with me right now. No, everywhere I went, I would show them that. And I showed people what the world was doing to me. How no matter how hard I fought, the opposition was so heavy. I broke down. I asked people for help as much as I could. When it was hard for me, look at how much I've talked about. It's hard for me to ask for help. I would ask for help. I would be consistently saving these lost souls as I go. It's not bragging. It's not delusion. It's just the fact of what I was going through. I would meet these lost souls that had been alone for their life, and I would help them. And in a way, I was learning, don't be that. That's a spiritual teacher. Do not go down that road. Don't. Let's see what time. At 3 o'clock, I have to leave. It's 2:06. Let me just check real quick. Hold on. Okay. It's all good. Just make sure I know what time it is. It's 2. It's at 3:30. Okay. One instance I can think of is that there was this guy who was a tech like he showed me at one point in his life he held $100 million, and he had $100 million for his innovations in the tech industry. And then he lost it all gambling and on hard drugs. He got addicted to hard drugs, living that lifestyle. He had a brain injury, and he fell from grace, and he moved to Vermont. And his caretaker, when he fell and he lost everything and he was hospitalized, the person that took care of him became his wife, and she was 10 years older than him. So I met him at 50, wife was 60. That guy wanted a drone business. He had a friend named Mark, who my cat's name was Mark. And my dad's friend when I was a child that lived with us was named Mark. And he was a biker. Like the same symbolism over and over and over again. Mark was worth hundreds of millions. And I sat in the room with him, and the guy was high on crack and convincing this 100 millionaire to give him like $50,000 to start his drone business, to go to farms and do surveying. But he would go on drugs and he would lose the drones. So he had to get 5 or 6 drones replaced, and his house was a mess. Him, and they were addicted to crack, searching for little crack rocks in their $1 million house. And I'm like, if I can just help them somehow, if I can just persevere through it and make it through this, I know God put me here for a reason. If I can just figure out what to do, I can get to this point where the war against me overturns and I get the upper hand, and then everything goes away and everyone is healed and everyone realizes that I was never the sick dog, sick lobster that they were running from in the tank, and that I was there to save them the whole time. And then bam, music studio here, this guy gets an album, this farm is going, solar farm, microgreens down in West Virginia, their house is renovated, their kids are doing sports, gym in their house, then fix my mom's situation and my dad's situation, get them the property they want, get them the land that they want, fix the RV, get them a system in place so that they can consistently work for themselves, get them out of their environment so they can fix themselves, get my foster brother, John Michael, here with me, then we'll have the land and we can make every day. Then I can start making the content I want to make, mukbang videos, hot tub streams, going out, bringing hot girls in, getting famous on Kick so easily. It's so easy. Back then when it was Neon and Zerka, Casey, but what we got was Kick, which is the green KC. I did not win. My team, my army did not win. But I broke down, my car fell off my tire, and I broke down in a church, and I sat there in a church and watched the Kansas City Chiefs, the KCC, win the Super Bowl. Instead of the Kingdom of Creative Champions, my group, my army, didn't win, but the KCC won. I didn't get to be a YouTube prankster, but Kendrick Curry did. And I used to wear this weird hat, and people would call me weird, but I was like, we need to stay weird. Kendrick Curry is black from Connecticut in the hood, has this weird hat, and his whole logo is stay weird. I didn't get to be a famous stand-up comedian that would base everything off of being in the moment and riffing, but Casey Rocket did. I didn't get to make the country song about how you're not what your circumstances made you. But Cassius Culpepper made Who Hurt You? You didn't make your daddy leave you and your mama. You didn't make that girl that broke you break her promise. Yeah, you didn't ask. I don't want the people to come over here. Uncle Sam just send your friends to that foreign land. It's time you face the truth. It ain't the man in the looking glass who hurt you. Oh. What else? I didn't get to be an MMA star. I didn't get to be the boxer that I wanted to be. But Conor McGregor and Cassius Clay, KC. I didn't get to be the evil Marvel supervillain. But we had Loki, we had Kang the Conqueror, KC, OB helped Loki. I didn't get to be the evil villain wearing the green and the gray. But now we have Doctor Doom. I didn't get to be the head of the streamer universe who made his thing by being the Sagittarius that would sit in the with my zebra skin rug behind me and stream through COVID. And then eventually that streaming became me just aggressively yelling while I eat all my McDonald's. But we had Kai Cenat and we had Queso. I'm gonna clip that. And you can find that everywhere. All these different KCs that got to live the life that I didn't get to live, but I got to live through them from here. Exalted. Placed away. Alone. With the Sagittarius stellium in the 8th house. Fighting to uncover the secrets by adventuring through the underground. Other notable KCs? Who's the Kurt Cobain? One time, I was making this song called Phantom. I keep these nerds wet like a totodile, but I left them all up. But I left them on red like it. Wait, I keep these nerds wet totodile, but I left them hung up like the dial tone. What they want is not even a milestone. I got a big gun. I keep it fucking on me like the Diamond Stones. It's probably a reason that I can't perform it right now, that it's not coming to me. They was on Where's Waldo. They hit me like it's been they just hit me like it's been a while though. I just ran a mile, pulled up on a pedophile, left a dent in his dome. All you bitches are broke. Hold on to hope. I told these. All you bitches are broke. Hold on to hope. I went down the coast and I came back with gold. To find out everyone is a clone. I smoked, took control, broke about the mold. When I found my soul, met the Holy Ghost. He taught me how to flow. I bought all of my preachers and Uzi. You cannot chill in my jacuzzi. All of you losers are useless. I just made a porn. They're paying to view it. You're fucking a fucking computer. Quit making your fucking excuses and just fucking do it. I'm sick of your shit. It's so stupid. You bitches aren't woke. You're barely lucid. I can tell how you're made by your music. You're gullible, easy to influence. You don't got a brain. You barely use it. I said, you don't got a brain. You barely use it. I can speak alien fluent. I'm making Satan look stupid. You try and stop the revolution, I'll pull up and shoot him like Vladimir Putin. And that was before Russia invaded Ukraine. When I was making this song called Phantom, and that was going to be my breakout. Phantom, because it was made on a Phantom of the Opera sample. Phantom didn't blow up. My rap group, the APC, the Aggressive Preachers Club, didn't blow up. I didn't get to make it with them. But those people left me to die when I was 14. They didn't deserve what I had to offer them. Phantom didn't blow up. Phantom blew up. Phantom Tax. The energy that I wanted to express was expressed through him. I was very upset in 2023, and I was walking around Burlington, and someone had spray painted the word Phantom in the same style, the same font they spray painted that I was going to put on my album cover. And then right next to it, spray painted, it was 27 Club. Who founded the 27 Club? Kurt Cobain. If I blew up, I would have died. Crow. Other notable cases. What's coming to me right now? Kelly Clarkson just came to me. They're showing me Kendrick and Cole, J. Cole, which stems from Kanye and Jay-Z and Casey and John Michael. And then we were competing for Ray, and then John Michael's dad's name is Ray. Casey Rocket blew up with Adam Ray. Kai Cenat with Ray in Taiwan was the reason he's globally famous. Then, on the same exact time that Kai Cenat met Ray in Japan, in Vermont, I took the exact same time that Kai met Ray, I got my car and went to see John Michael. And we took a picture with our thumbs up, smiling. And Kai and Ray took a picture with two. Same time, same day. When I got here, the first person I met was Casey, and she helped me fight back against all the rumors and the gossip and the terror from the people. And then the only other person was somebody named Ray at a place called Rumor Has It. And if you remember, if you were here back then, I was trying to manifest a bearskin rug that I was going to wear as my armor when I went on these streams to be like unique on my YouTube shorts. Back when Will Survives was popping off, and it would be so easy for me to have this unique style and to go and be, that was just the way the trajectory of content was at the time. And then I walk into Rumor Has It, and there's a coat with a bearskin coat there, but he wants money that I don't have. And that was Ray and Casey. Stuff like that just keeps happening over and 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 over. And I get rid of just like when the animals go away and another animal shows up, when these names go away, another one shows up. When I got rid of the Leo, Vincent, Gary, Loki, Nate, Mike, and all these people, they come back. Fuck you. Fuck you. Stop it. Stop trying to control the frequency to impregnate my consciousness with fear. Trying to dominate my auric field so I can't channel this story, this divine grace. They hate the grace. And they found the pause and they try to sneak in. So that happens over and over. Basically, today is 10 years. I survived. I went to war against the small towns. I went to war on Facebook. I talked to all these people. I did all this stuff. In the end, it doesn't matter. But today is 10 years since I met that girl. So I called her. And I fucked it up. Because that's me. I fuck it up. I don't know how to do relationships. Like, it's hard to function. I'm afraid of love, and I'm afraid of being vulnerable with her because of all the times that I lost it. But I wanted to see her because no one else has come close to how I felt with her. So I called her, and she had just woken up, and she was feeding her toddler. And I was trying to make jokes. She didn't really care for the jokes. She was talking to her son, and she was like, "You want to build the choo-choo?" And I said, "I think I'll build the choo-choo in my own time." And she's like, "As you should." I'm like, "Bitch, bitch, you hurt me." And then she told me everyone thinks I'm crazy because of what I post on the internet. People are sending her these. And I told her basically, like, I wanted people to think I'm crazy so that people would leave me alone so I could leave everybody behind. And my spiritual mentor told me to destroy your reputation to find yourself. Break all these attachments and just live alone for a while, and you'll figure out who you really are. And that's true. That's what happened. But when I called her, I found this vulnerability and real love, this authenticity that is not this at all. At least it didn't feel like it. It was way more meaningful to talk to her than it will ever be to sit alone, living in distraction and delusion, which may open me up to this huge spirituality, and I might be able to do amazing things. But I don't think it'll ever come close to how I felt with her. But she has a kid now. The relationship sucked because at the end of the day, it still is my responsibility. I could have understood that my attachment to her was driving her away and chosen to continue going on my trajectory and just have been able to enjoy her while I had her, which is maybe what God was showing me, was to keep it temporary because she's going to be flighty, and to just enjoy it while I have her and not let that destroy me like it had for the past 10 years. to just appreciate that I get to see her, and then we have to go off on separate journeys for whatever reason. Just make sure she gets tested when she comes back. But instead, I go back into my 8th house underworld and I pioneer to make the most perfect thing happen. And it usually doesn't. So I guess I fucked it up again. I called her today and I fucked it up again. And I tried to be funny and she thought it was a little funny. But at the end of the day, I just spoke like this until she was like, goodbye. I ranted. I just schizo ranted at her. But I also asked her questions. Like, are you happy? How many people did you sleep with from this time to this time? And she said none. But I was like, did you suck anybody's dick? And she didn't answer. Because a couple times she left me and she went with other guys. One time she left me outside of her work and she got in another guy's car and they drove away for 20 minutes. And she said he confessed his love for her and then whatever. But she had another guy that she was talking to at work, that the universe, she would go off to work and then I would get notifications from MJ Get Right. And he was talking about how all women are 3 have a work boyfriend and all women are not to be given any love or attention because they're just using you as a resource, and the next guy that comes in she's going to go to and she'll never love you, which caused me to ruin the relationship I had with her. But at the end of the day, the guy that she was working with restaurant, he sent her a picture once of him shirtless and he had washboard abs and he had facial hair and he drove a motorcycle and he was dangerous and he was bragging about how fast he could drive his car. He was talking about how he could do 120 and outdrive the cops, and he's from a city in Massachusetts. And I'm like a disabled hobbit with the literal above operating exalted. Or whatever, I'm an ancient soul. I don't know what I am. But a 33 life path, born in the 11th, Ding Fire, Wood Trine. Not one stellium, which is the rarest thing you can have in astrology, is a stellium, which is houses, or 3 planets in the same house. Not only do I have 3 planets in the same house, I have 4 planets in the same house under the same sign. And then you could dispute that by saying, okay, some of these planets are 30 years. So there was a bigger chance for a lot of people to be born with a stellium. I have a second stellium in my 10th house of Aquarius. Aquarius in the 10th house, 4 planets, not 3, which is rare, 4 planets in the 10th house, Aquarius. And I have 4 planets in Sagittarius in the 8th. My planets are all 8th house and 10th house of Sagittarius Aquarius. I'm just a Sagittarius Aquarius, except my Jupiter is in the 12th house in Aries, which is the oldest soul possible. It means that your past lives, here's the crow, don't achieve that darkness. Don't hit that powerful. Don't hit that ancient soul. The environment doesn't like it. You will phase out of reality and the police will have to kill you. People will show up to kill you, which could be an activation for that darkness. That ain't not darkness isn't bad, but this ancient energy. When I bring it through the Aquarius 11 detached, I bring the energy through into this world, and the monitoring spirits don't like it. But other than the Jupiter and Aries in the 12th house, I have the Taurus rising. The Jupiter 12th house Aries means that my past life was violent. They said you were probably some type of apex predator, some type of feral creature that had to survive through the most violent, like a panther in the rainforest, or a lion in the Sahara, or a polar bear fighting to survive in the cold. Lives like that stack up enough that you can embody, you have all those codes in your spiritual wealth. But then I have a Taurus rising, and they say Taurus risings, in order to have the calm and the competence and the functionality of a Taurus rising, means that most likely you were some type of war chief, barbarian warlord, Roman, like like a Alexander the Great type, Brian Boru. You led on those types of souls that led armies. What's okay? So something important is hitting me. So the other ones I was saying, but I just got inspired. There's this guy. He's like the guy that all the samurais. It's like Muromashi or something, not Mansa Musa, but he's the guy that founded like maybe Taoism. It was this badass samurai. Now the butterfly is coming over to me. Hello, butterfly. Who was this ancient Japanese samurai that was like this amazing war fighter, philosopher? That guy came to my head. Which is basically what I think I'm doing the same thing he's doing. It's just recalling my battles and talking about what works and what doesn't. Sort of like creating my own art of war. I didn't study philosophy because I wanted to make my own. But there's some guy that Joe Rogan likes. He popped up in a short like a month ago. But when these downloads come to me, it's not one thing. And here's 3 or 4 butterflies for confirmation, flying all right to left. It's not one thing at once, it's 3 at once. So not only did I get the samurai, that guy, but I remember somebody in my life that I felt was a reflection of that aspect of myself that told me he was an energy vampire and that I wasn't seeing him, I was seeing the reflection of myself that he was taking from me. And he said that energy was a samurai. He said that he became a samurai because of me. So that samurai is hitting. I also said that 2025 would be the year of the samurai, the mountain lion, where my character, instead of being the rampaging bear, would be the samurai against the army of the locals, the mobs, standing firm with like the hair long in a bun with the, you know what I'm talking about? And the girl that I talked to today has her hair that way as well, with long hair, with that Japanese style. So the problem I have is just that I don't feel it. I don't know. I was holding myself back because I felt like I had gotten everything I wanted and it was ruined. So I didn't see a point in going the distance. So I chose the hardest. I decided that the hardest thing somebody could go through in American life, if I can't be a veteran and I can't go into these war zones because I was technically diagnosed with things that wouldn't allow me in the military. If I couldn't go and be a Marine, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. I'm 5'8", 5'10". My license says 5'9", so I don't know, somehow I grew since 2018. I've grown. So I don't know if I'd even make the cut to be a Navy SEAL, but I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. And I couldn't. So I decided that like the rite of passage, if there was something that I had to do and the universe won't let me be a streamer or build the Kingdom of Creative Champions, it won't let me be a stand-up comedian, it keeps forcing me into this box like this, then I must need to be in this box. So I chose to be homeless. And I chose to do this thing from this position because I liked how I felt in this position and I liked how unique it was. And I liked every time I overcame something, it wasn't this crazy delusion to push myself for social status. It was that I put myself into the hardest part of American existence. I see videos where suburban kids think that homelessness isn't that bad, and they make TikToks about it where they're like, I was homeless for a week, and they show their thing and their videos, they're documenting their journey, and they're broken down crying in cities close to killing themselves. They get raped and they just want to die, and it's like they had to go back to their parents because they couldn't live. And now I'm coming on my 5th year. I've survived. I figured it out. I started out digging through dumpsters. Now I have Walmart delivering me food from my Coleman camping stove. I do need donations. I need like $10 to get phone service, but the winter solstice happened. I'm not opposed to getting a job. I tried. I did what I did last year, where I went through the entire town and I applied to everywhere, and then got a bunch of rejections because people think I'm crazy. I'm sure this to anyone that this doesn't resonate with, I seem like an insane schizophrenic. But that's not saying I can't deliver pizzas like I used to. It's just I will decide I'm going to get a job, and then I will get a notification on my phone. This is exactly why chosen ones can't work a job and shouldn't work a job. I will get my YouTube will say just don't. It will give me a video from somebody somewhere in the world channeling the divine and telling me do not get a job. So I have to believe that's true, or at least that there's some force for some reason doesn't want me to. Sorry, Holden. I thought that you were. I didn't read the whole thing. I thought that you were saying to leave her out of the picture, and then I will feel better today, and I will see myself better. I thought it was encouragement, not a question. It sucks. It was a good ending to the story. My life is like I'm in a train and I'm just going through different universes and I'm meeting people and I get to appreciate their story from this outside perspective. That's why I love music and TV and art and content, and I get to experience the entire overarching story in a way that nobody understands individually, but I can see. So it was a great moment for me to see her life and how it turned out and to see how she's grown and who she's become. I'm proud of her. I've always been proud of her and I've always loved her, probably more than it's not bragging or being like grandiose, but I do think that I love people more than they can imagine, even though I don't. Somebody's calling me. She's calling me. I'm going to answer. She's calling. Universe.